I've sold three companies to the Fortune 500, and since 2011, I've helped people buy their first franchise for a living. So, if I had to do it all over today with no name, no franchise knowledge, here's exactly what I would do. How'd I pick the right brand? How'd I fund it? And the one validation step almost every beginner skips. Let's get into it. A lot of people coming into a franchise believe they can replace their income very quick, and it's a get-rich-quick scheme, or you can replace your job immediately. The reality is that's not going to happen. The simplicity is you're going to be able to build a model on a low investment, potentially in home services, but it will take time, and the effort that you put into it will be rewarded later on. It just depends upon how much advertising you're going to put into it, how much time and money you will place into the playbook that the franchisor provides, and then you will start reaping benefits or seeing the ROI. Not to say that you won't get your money back from the investment. That all depends on how much time and money you put in, but you will not get your immediate, let's say, six-figure earnings in month one or month two. So the first 12 months are probably the hardest to start a business here. But with franchising, it gives you that playbook. So you're enabled to go ahead and move faster and probably ramp up a lot quicker. And that's something that I've experienced as well. A lot of people think that they're going to have to put more than a 8-hour day in. The reason to buy a business and jump ship, whether that's from corporate America or to, adding on in a different ancillary business, is to buy your time back. So you could expect to put a normal 8-hour day in, depends upon what your job description will be while starting this business, but generally probably being the brand ambassador or an executive model. So you're not going to be swinging a hammer or mopping up a floor, or if it's a brick and mortar, opening the store at 5 o'clock in the morning. You'll probably be directing people, but your time is going to be valuable. You'll be able to do a lot of things for yourself and for your family because of that 12-month commitment, but you will be focused on the business to kind of learn about it and understand it. And that's where the first 12-month time commitment comes in. So monetarily, you're going to need at least 50,000 liquid cash, because typical franchise fees are around 50 or 60,000. Generally, you're going to need that to influx into the business if you're going to do some sort of SBA loan, which is generally a 20% down type of thing. I would say minimal investments start about $100,000 for home services, and they go up to about $350,000. And then from $350 all on up is brick and mortar, and that could be in any sector or any category. However, you're going to need liquidity to inject into these businesses. Plus, you have personal expenses and then business expenses. So you don't want to mix the two. So if you're leaving a job, you're going to want to kind of have some sort of safety net to pay those personal expenses, so you're not drawing from the business and not being able to advertise or pay your payroll or pay your rent for that matter. So you got to prepare for that for the future. Starting with a brand you recognize is definitely, people get caught up in this all the time, and they'll say they never heard of this brand. So typically when we're looking for candidates, if you heard of the brand, it's in your market and it won't be available. So you'll be going round in circles to try to find a brand that's recognizable to you, and you'll never do anything or take action to start a business. So with our help, that's what we pull out, these brands that are vetted and proven in other markets, but it's available in your territory. The biggest mistake is you really not having an open mind and going through our process and to understand what you want the business to do for you, as opposed to understanding what that business does or if you recognized it before as a consumer. As far as picking and selecting the franchise, there's passion and fit, right? So we always try to fit the parameters of the candidate by the capital they want to invest, the time or the lifestyle they want to have in a business. Meaning, do they want to start off semi-absentee, keep their job? How much time do you want to invest in it on a daily basis? Do you want to only put 10 to 20 hours in a week, or do you want to put a full 40 hours? Semi-absentee is kind of a taboo word in franchising. However, there are lots of opportunities that have that, but you really have to know that business backwards and forwards in order to start it. And I'm not saying to get down and dirty if it's service or if it's brick and mortar to open up that front door and make donuts per se, but understanding labor costs, cost of goods sold, and how much time it takes to do a specific, whether that's a full day in brick and mortar for a full day of sales or in services, how long does that job particularly take? So the difference between an owner-operator model and a semi-absentee model is owner-operator, you're going to be putting in that full-time effort. You're going to be directing people or managing people, being a brand ambassador, developing relationships within your community to start your business, and directing your crew, staff, or employees. With a semi-absentee model, you're basically managing that manager. So you don't have the minutia of the everyday, but you're going to be managing a particular manager that you'll most likely pay a good salary and a bonus and potentially give them some sweat equity in the business. So you're just managing them, and that's your point two. And then that manager does the everyday owner-operator stuff. So this client specific story is a very good success story, by the way. So in Indiana, and real estate broker license, but a guy in sales. So he did the real estate stuff before, not really successful. It's very difficult to be a real estate broker if you don't put a full-time effort into it. So he wanted to keep his job and start something for him and his family. And the obvious choice, obviously, real estate brokerage, because he has a license, that could be something, but he did it before, and it probably spent about a year or 2 years spinning his wheels, not making much money, to kind of transcend or transition out of that current job. With the brand that we found for him, which was in wholesaling, house flipping, also potentially could be a brokerage for himself, but it will direct him. He did this quite well in a couple of months, making some wholesale deals, getting some really quick commissions that he's not putting his own money into, started to develop some revenue for him quickly, and he could potentially leave his job by the end of the year. He's being extremely successful. What the brand did for him is develop a playbook. They have a tech stack that is like none other, where they develop the leads for the investors and the people who want to sell their house within a week instead of going to short sale. So they develop both situations within the territories that he's in, developing those leads from people that want to sell their house and matching them with investors, which equates to a very quick sales cycle, and then you move on to the next deal. So this brand matched that tech stack, so you're not out there knocking on doors and spinning your wheels to understand how you're going to get your next client. The leads will come in with this brand, and they come in fast. They've been in business for, I think, probably about 10 years, and they have the technology to bring in your investors and also the clients to develop a fast close cycle. Quick thing before I keep going, if you want me to walk you through this for your situation, I'll do it for free. The link in the description is below. Book a free 15-minute call with me. The franchise companies pay my fee, you pay zero, and get 31 years of experience on the other end of this call. Let's get back to it. So liquid cash, you're going to need around $50,000 to get a franchise that is, I'm going to call it reputable, but the brands that we have in our inventory are around $100,000 investment minimum. There are some lower, but you're still going to have to inject some liquid cash in there. On top of that, there's other ways that we can help you fund through finance partners. Those finance partners can help you with an SBA, 401k rollover. That's where a lot of our candidates fund from, and that's a tax-free, penalty-free way. They could take that money out and put it and inject it into the business, or they could take any amount of money, even to pay yourself if you'd like, but you would have to pay the taxes on top of that if you were to pay yourself through the business. Next, I would probably go with an SBA. Takes a lot longer. The rates have come down somewhat since the last couple of years, but it is a good way to fund if you have income. And it's important to know that when you're going for an SBA, you have to show income or have to have a job. A lot of people have a misconception that they can go and switch into getting a business without having a job. You're not going to get an SBA. You have to show income. So real great way, and no big mistake to make, is try to find a franchise while you have that job. Then you could clip the job if you wanted to, or you could keep it and do a semi-absentee opportunity. So SBA, you're not going to be able to get the full investment. You have to infuse the business with some sort of cash. It's typically about 20%. So the number one rookie mistake people make and candidates make in their first year of business is pulling a salary out too soon, taking their personal expenses to pay for the personal expenses, and not taking that money and re-injecting it back in the business to pay for advertising, payroll, rent, marketing, anything of that matter. That's the number one mistake. By doing that, you're going to drain your bank account very quickly, which is not going to be able to fund the other things that is required to make your business succeed. And that's where it goes into the red and people tend to fail. That is the number one reason for sure that I've seen in the last 31 years that people tend to make that mistake. And they blame whether it's the franchise or the business, it's not working. It's generally an accounting problem with debits and credits. Keeping a job and transitioning out into a franchise, I've done it, helped people many times do it. I actually think it's a very good way to get into business ownership. That could be in home services, it could be B2B, or it could be retail. Generally, it's hiring your manager right out of the gate. If it is in home services, if you want 20 to 30 hours, you could probably potentially do it yourself if you work from home and it's not a report job, where you do have some time in that job that have flexibility, where you may be able to handle a situation during business hours, or you could do something after business hours or on the weekend to kind of ramp that business up quickly and then transition out of the job, so you're not in a situation where you're pulling out your personal expenses, as we said earlier. Picking is done, funding is done. Now the part where most first-time buyers lose their money where they shouldn't have. So most beginners going through our process skip the validation step, or they don't even get to it because maybe they've made an excuse or fear sets in that they think the business is not for them. Validation is probably the most important step in the process, bar none. And speaking to as many franchisees as you can, the successful ones and the non-successful ones, because they're going to be there in every franchise for that matter. But you have to talk to franchisees that resonate with you. That's how you go to a brand, and understanding that those are the types of people you want to collaborate with on a daily basis, that they are like you and they've been there where you are now, and you're going to ask all the questions of, hey, why did you pick this brand out of 7,000 brands? Would you do it again? Most questions are people say, hey, when do I get my money back, and how soon could I start earning a six-figure income? That's the biggest. So existing franchisees will help you with that, but some people don't like that answer, the answers that they hear. How quickly can I get my money back? That generally is a fear-based question. In business, you're not going to get your money back quickly. This is a long-term commitment, and it's a long-term equity run to build a business. If you do all the right things in a franchise and follow the playbook, you're going to have a very successful franchise. If you think of this as, how can I replace my income in 3 months? It's probably not for you, and you probably still should stay in corporate. So the item 19 tells you the economics about the whole entire brand on its the amount of franchisees that are in the system. Most franchisors will disclose their gross revenue, meaning what they've made in sales. So that will give you the high, the medium, or the middle, or the low of that. Most mistakes people make is they get very transactional or too deep into the numbers, and they bury themselves in it, and they say, okay, well, that doesn't look good. And they always tend to look at the low side instead of looking at the high side and the opportunity. And that's where they make a big mistake, because they're not looking at the opportunity for what it is. When you talk to the validation of franchisees, that's really important. The item 19 is important, but it's really not going to tell your story, because that is all done by how successful you are in implementing the playbook. Sometimes when a brand is an emerging brand and they have corporate locations listed in their item 19, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it is a proven model and they're putting it in the item 19, whether that's gross revenues or down to net return. Those revenues will probably be very high because that brand may have been around for 5-6 years, so they have the numbers to put into that item 19 in the disclosure document. It is a bad thing, but it is also a good thing, because it shows the provability, but it is not going to be the actual number of the actual franchisees, and that's usually a common mistake they make. Territory is a big factor in the decision. However, a franchisor is not going to offer a territory in a bad area. So if the territory is there, most people get hung up if they know that it's a bad area. You may be able to get commercial business or B2B from that instead of the residential side if it's a home service brand. However, turf is important. I just like a lot of it if it's home services, because that's for future growth and scalability, and it's what we call a land grab. And generally, if you have the money and the funds to do that, it's a one-time fee to buy additional territory. With a brick and mortar, I could say that it's usually a 2-mile radius for that trade area. And if you want to scale and bring more business in for future growth, you could do the same thing. But generally, there isn't bad turf in a franchisor model. They wouldn't be offering it because the only way that they make money is on the royalty for you to be successful. Validity of the territory you're looking at is based upon demographics and you knowing that market. As I said before, if the territory is there and they're offering it, they want to make money just like the franchise candidate wants to make money. So they wouldn't have that territory there. But to validate it, if it's a retail location, you're going to be buying a trade area, which is a 2-mile radius. They're going to come in and do the demographic for the location and help. Their real estate department is going to do testing to see if that's a good location. And that will be collaborative with you, the candidate. If it's home services, again, goes back to population, demographic, number of households. That's really how you validate a territory. The only way to really know that you're working with a bad, per se, franchise consultant is experience, in my opinion. If you're coming from corporate and you go into being a franchise consultant and you've never owned a business before and don't own one now, that's a red flag for me. I've been in business for 33 years and still am, and I can talk the talk and walk the walk with the candidate as they're moving along the process and even after the process. A franchise consultant that came from corporate, in my opinion, that's like right now asking me to coach football. I love football. They may love business, but I'm not going to be a very good football coach. If you're sitting on capital, if you've been thinking of franchise ownership for a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you keep putting it off, click the link in the description and book a free call. You'll be talking to the guy who is the VP of sales for Iron Mountain, sold 3 companies to Fortune 500, and has placed people into their first franchise since 2011. We'll figure out the right brand, the right funding strategy, and the right validation process for you and your situation. I'll see you on the call. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.